we're going to talk about something called Machiavellianism. It's a big word, but we're also going to talk about how Machiavellianism relates to narcissism. So, not all narcissistic people are cunning and exploitative, like at a high level of exploitation. There are other personality styles, though, that are related to narcissism, that capture a group that is ultra manipulative, self-serving, scheming, and willing to take advantage of people to get ahead no matter what. Politics has always been deceptive and manipulative, and that we should simply enable and ignore the actions of awful and cruel leaders. It's kind of a guidebook to authoritarianism and basically a how-to guide on how to be an evil person. One of his well-known quotes, you gotta kind of try to imagine this on his 1500s Instagram feed, is, "It's better to be feared than loved." And frankly, that quote is the mantra of narcissistic and psychopathic folks everywhere. So now here we are in modern times, and in the early 1970s, Christie and Gase developed the idea of Machiavellianism as a personality trait, distinct but complementary to narcissism and psychopathy. Machiavellian people have a goal or an outcome in mind, and they will scheme and plot and manipulate and do whatever is necessary to achieve that goal, and will use people to achieve that goal with zero regard for who gets hurt. Even the citizens of a place where this person may be a leader, they don't care as long as they get what they need. One difference between Machiavellianism and narcissism is that Machiavellian people don't necessarily need the attention. In fact, some of them really are pretty content to be working in the back room and in the shadows, making sure that, for example, powerful people win elections or get advanced in institutional or corporate settings or other societally important spaces. Machiavellian people need the power, but not necessarily the admiration and the attention. There's a lot of overlap between Machiavellianism as a personality style and psychopathy as well. However, a difference is that Machiavellian people are willing to play long games. They aren't impulsive like the psychopaths. They're not as likely to get violent in a person-to-person situation. Their eye is always on the longer-term prize. And in general, a Machiavellian person will not mess it up by having a messy little tantrum. Now, not all Machiavellian people are successful. The smart ones and the lucky ones and the rich ones are, and they go on to become senators and presidents and ambassadors and CEOs and really successful entrepreneurs. I guess that dumb Machiavellian people may end up in jail because their manipulative play doesn't quite work out, or they get kicked out of school maybe for cheating, or their entrepreneurial scheme just doesn't work out. Machiavellianism is something you may see in someone running a sort of really well thought out Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme, and they manage to get out right before they get caught. I guess the stupid ones stay in the game too long. Machiavellian folks tend to be serial offenders, and they will go from thing to thing, always with their own egocentric plan to run the world in mind. It all sort of has a Dr. Evil kind of vibe. Now, there is a core set of characteristics: lack of empathy, callousness, entitlement, need for power, that cuts across narcissism and psychopathy and Machiavellianism. But then it all starts heading off in different directions. The narcissists, bless their fragile hearts, they need more attention and admiration. The psychopaths can be a bit more impulsive and hot-headed when things aren't going their way. The Machiavellians are more focused on their methodical end game. And all together, all of this comes together in something called the dark triad, sort of a personality cluster we've talked about. Nowadays it's referred to as the dark tetrad. You just throw sadism in there to round it out. I personally think it should be the dark pentagon. Throw paranoia in there as well. Now, Machiavellianism is nasty and can take narcissism and really nasty it up. When Machiavellianism combines with narcissism, then we are seeing more of malignant narcissists, that dark tetrad stuff, right? People may really get hurt by this, for example, at work. And if you work with someone who's Machiavellian, they will definitely throw you under the bus if it works for them and they don't care if they ruin your career. But frankly, you may not realize it. All of us are harmed by Machiavellianism. American politics and politicians are basically the dog feces on the bottom of our shoes these days, and I'd say in many areas of the world. These politicians are people who claim to be championing the rights of citizens, and in fact are largely just forwarding their own cause and their quest for domination and constantly harming the public trust. All of us living in this mess of a world right now are being hurt by people who have Machiavellian personalities and who really are the ones who have made this mess the rest of us have to live in. We reward these folks and we keep giving them more and more power. We've always had this sort of sick admiration for people who so cleverly work systems. I Am Watching Billions loves the show, and almost every single character on the show is Machiavellian. They calmly play a long game until they get caught, and many don't get caught. They write the laws and design them so they can't get caught, and that is one hell of a long game in a very rigged casino. So that exploitative, manipulative, throw you under the busness of some ambitious people represents Machiavellianism, and while lots of narcissistic people may have this pattern, many don't. And many Machiavellian people just don't need the attention. They simply need the power. Pay attention, because it can be stunning to realize how disposable you can be to someone like this. Machiavellian people may be really impressive at first blush. They're at the top of their game. Some people are like, oh my gosh, they're so ambitious, they're so driven, they're so focused, they'll do anything to get there. You better believe they'll do anything to get there, and destroying you is definitely something that's on that list, if that's what's going to get them to where they're getting to. I'm not so sure that everybody who's so assiduous in the pursuit of a goal and not caring whether they hurt someone else is really worth our admiration.